queen to e4. What? And a b4? Oh, I have bishop. Oh, I have bishop b5. Oh, wow. I have bishop b. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh, wow. All right, so we're going to take a look at two of the games that I played today in Title Tuesday. We're going to start with this game against Fairchess, which was completely insane. Let me turn on the lines, turn on the evaluation as well, so you guys can see everything. I think you guys can see it now. Let me see. Actually, is this what we want to do? Let me see. 1 second. So I got 10 draws in Title Tuesday. Yes, you guys, I got 10 draws. Is this the right scene? Let me see. All right, so we're gonna go from here. All right, two games I want to cover in Title Tuesday is this game which I played in the 8th round against Dmitry. I think it was the 8th round against Dmitry on Draken. And now this game was very important. I was on 7 out of 7. Very important game, and I actually got into a lot of trouble in this game. So game's pretty standard. We have this Queen's Gambit decline, e3 knight e7. Now here Dmitry goes c5. In the Champions Tour, Timur played a3 against me a couple of times, but he goes but in this case Dmitry plays c5. So now I go c6, h3, b6, b4, h6. I mean, all pretty standard. I wanted to get to critical moments. So in this game, I played this move bishop to a6 here. And this is kind of a big mistake. What I probably should have played was either rook a3 or pawn to b5. But I played bishop a6, and now Draken correctly goes b5. And I actually miscalculated here. I thought that I could take the pawn, and I just forgot that he could go c6. And if I take the pawn on c6, white hits knight to e4 here, queen to b7, knight takes knight, knight takes knight, rook to c7. I'm going to lose material here because the bishop guards the rook, and the rook is attacking the queen and the bishop here. So this is completely winning. So I actually miscalculated this during the game. So I go bishop b7, and I end up in a lot of trouble here. I was able to salvage this because Dmitry did not go I believe knight e5 here was strong, but he takes, and I'm just going to go forward, not get too deep into the weeds, because we get to this position. And now here he goes bishop b1. Now the problem is at this point already, if I go king h8, there's a very dangerous idea with queen h5, king g8, bishop takes pawn. If I take back, he takes. Now not only is the bishop under attack on f6, white's also threatening checkmate in 1 on h7 here. So this would have been really bad for me if this had occurred in the game. So I found this move queen a3, and now he goes bishop b1. I go rook c8, trying to trade material. If white trades the rooks, you might think, well, hey, free pawn. I can't take the bishop. The queen pins the pawn on g7. But if he does this, I actually just move rook to c1, and now it's good for white after bishop d3. So I did not see bishop d3. This is my whole idea, figuring that if white moves the bishop, I trade the rooks and go queen c1 and win material, of course. But I didn't see bishop d3. And after bishop d3, if I take the bishop, he takes my rook, obviously. And if I take the rook on f1, he just takes back, and now he's time to move the bishop, and he's just up a pawn. So this is actually pretty bad. I conveniently forgot this was an idea, so maybe he could have done this. Anyway, we keep going. The game is very complicated. Both players get low on time, and it starts to get really wild right around here. So here I take on e5, and very surprisingly, Dmitry does not trade the queens. Now he could have just traded and taken on h6, and white's up a pawn here. Very small advantage, but it's not completely clear what's going on. Instead he goes queen f3. I go rook a3, takes here, king e7, dodging all the fossils here with the rook on f1. So I go here, goes bishop g8, takes here. Now I play rook e2, rook f2. Now I make a huge blunder. I play rook takes f2, completely blundering that white can go queen takes a6, and after king c5, rook takes d5, I just resign. But Dmitry, amazingly, after rook f2, he takes the rook for no reason whatsoever. And now after rook c2, king e1, queen e3, king f1, I have queen f2 mate. So as you saw from the bar, this was a very lucky break for me, because I should have lost the game after this huge blunder. But anyway, I got the win, and I was very fortunate because that kept me alive in the running for first place. All right, so let's move on to the other game now. So this is the tragedy in the last round against Tigra. This was Boris Savchenko. I'll get to the critical moments. Nothing very exciting in the opening. Oh wait, sorry, bar's off. Let me turn this on. So we get to this position with f5. So I take and go bishop f4. Apparently, wait, right here, I'm supposed to take first. Anyway, we get to this position. He plays here. Go here. And now he blunders with knight e5. And after this move, this actually is really good for me. I don't know exactly what the correct line is. Bishop f7 takes. Go f3, goes here, I take, and this is where I missed the win. In this position in the game, I actually saw that I could play this very cheeky move, castles. But for some reason, I just forgot that after takes, bishop f4, queen g2, queen h4, knight e4, if he takes, it's protected. And if he goes g3, I have knight g4, which covers the check, and then I can just go like queen h1, king g2, consolidate with the extra knight. But for some reason, I forgot that I forgot I had knight g4. I thought there was something with bishop e3, which is why I didn't do this. And it was very costly, because if I had castled, I think I would have won this game probably with 90% certainty. So it's very, very unfortunate that I didn't do that, because I would have won title Tuesday otherwise. As you guys know, of course, there was some there was a consolation elsewhere which kind of more than made up for this unfortunate mishap. So instead I go here, plays knight c3. Oh, apparently queen c7 is good, or knight c4, huh? So he goes here. We get to this position, yeah, and it's very complicated. I mean, goes here, I go here, go here, and maybe it's just losing. Up until here. So if he goes queen g4 here, he's just winning. There's rook e3 and rook e2 and rook f2, and my queen and knight and this rook are both my rooks are very, very bad. So actually, I shouldn't feel too bad because I missed this one castles move. But other than that, I didn't really miss a whole lot. Here I missed something very tricky, which is I should have gone king d1. Now it's very hard to understand. Actually, think, well, takes rook e2. There's just rook h1, and you just resign the game. If rook e1, you can trade and go like h5, h4, h. Actually, not. Wait. Rook e1. He can take and go d3, and he's winning the game because there's h5, h4, h3. If king e1, just check, and then now the pawns just start rolling up the board. If knight f3 goes this way, now he's a check. The king is cut. He can play h4 as well, and it's just GG completely. So this would have been winning. But the thing is that after king d1, rook h5, there's an amazing in-between move, which is rook to e8 check, king f7, rook e2. And now the point is black can't go rook h1 because when I take, it's with check. So if I had seen this idea of rook e8 check, I probably would have gone king d1. But again, in a blitz game, the only thing I saw was this rook e2, rook h1, and I just resigned because it's not a check here. The king's on g8. So that's very, very sage, I guess. So I played rook e4 because the idea I thought here was that now if he takes a pawn, I can go rook g4 and double up the rooks. And after rook h2, king d1, maybe there's some chances. Computer actually still thinks it's losing, so maybe it doesn't make a difference, but I thought there were chances. But he found rook f3, which is actually much cleaner. So now I go king d1. Not rook g4, by the way, trying to win the pawn because he has check. King d1, rook to d3, and now he'll be able to capture the knight next move with the pin from the rook on d3 and the king on d1. So yeah, so rook f3 was great. I go here, he found rook e3, another important move, not rook d3, because then I have rook e2, rook f1, rook e1, rook f2, rook e2, and I'm able to save the game here, and it would have been a draw, and I would have won the event. But correctly, he plays rook e3. I trade, go here, and yeah, king e2 is just a blunder. But I'm actually lost anyway, because after rook g2, he can go rook f1, king e2, rook f2, and this king and pawn endgame is simply winning for black, because even though I have the majority 3-on-2, the two pawns prevent me from ever getting a pass pawn here. And now he'll be able to run the king up, push the g pawn, and he'll use an outside pawn. So for example, one way of looking at this would be g6 takes. Here, king e4, and at some point he'll be able to come in, eat the pawns on the queen side, and win the game here. And so it wouldn't have mattered even if I had played rook takes g2. Yeah, it's completely lost at this point. Nothing I could have done. So yeah, so this was the second game. Very unfortunate that I lost this game, but it definitely happens. However, after losing this game, I did have to move right on over, you guys. Let me log in my main account. Give me 1 second. I had to move right on over and play in the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. So we will move right over there. Let me go to live chess. And here we go. Let me put this in. Wait, what? 1 second. Okay, there we go. All right. So I had to move over to the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. And I had to play against none other than Grandmaster Wesley So with the white pieces. Why did the moves not come through? 1 second. Why did the moves not come through? 1 second. Let me close this. Let me try this again. 1 second. Let's see if this works. And let me see if this works. 1 second. There we go. What? It's not work. Wait, 1 second. Okay, let me redo this, you guys. How does this go? 1 second. Let me pull this. No, it's not working. Okay, 1 second. Let me just do it like this. It's just not working. I leaked the password. Yes, you guys, I leaked the password, of course. Let me do it this way because this is guaranteed to work, I think. Here we go. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have both games that I played against Wesley So. Yeah, I leaked the password. Thank you. Joni Prop for the 14 weeks for the Prime. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, so we're going to look at the 2 games against Wesley from the tiebreaker of the Champions Chess Tour. So the game starts c4. Wesley plays c5. I go knight f3, knight c6, d4. So here we have a pretty standard English opening. And here I thought for a long time, I wasn't really sure which line I wanted to play. I've played a3 in the past. I played a3, I played e3, I played g3, all sorts of lines. So I go g3, I go e3 here. He plays d5. Now this was kind of an unusual choice, I thought, by Wesley. I think bishop b4 is a little bit more solid. I think knight takes knight is also completely fine as well. But he goes d5, I takes here. Now Wesley really shows his intentions here by playing knight takes knight. I personally thought that after knight takes knight, that maybe queen takes is actually good for me, but I was pretty confident that after takes bishop d7, it's kind of petering out here, and it should be fine for black. As you guys see with the deeper analysis, the evaluation is coming significantly off of its high from before. So Wesley takes, and now he goes bishop d7. I castle. He plays rook c8. And Wesley's idea is that basically he can delay this castle, he can delay all this kingside development and try to get a knight to c4 or put a lot of pressure on the pawn on c3. So now I play bishop d2, bishop e7, I go rook b1, queen a6, rook e1. Now the idea behind rook e1 was pretty simple. I just wanted to open up bishop f1 here, remove the queen from the protection of the pawn on b7. So he goes knight a5 here, plays c4. I don't know if this was the right move, but it looked like it was in the spirit of the position. Goes b6, of course not knight takes pawn, because then I can take with the bishop on b7 and black will be losing material. So he goes b6, I play bishop f1, again trying to take advantage of this queen on a6. If queen b7, I can take the knight. He cannot recapture because then he would lose this queen. So it's very unclear. So Wesley plays knight takes pawn. So now I go bishop b4, trying to take advantage of the lack of development. Black is not castled. Additionally, there is a pin here. And the third problem is that if black could ever castle, there always are ideas like knight f5 even to attack the bishop on d7. So after bishop b4, he plays b5. Again, this move actually really surprised me. I thought that it didn't feel right to me during the game, but I had already thought for a lot of time. So I wasn't really sure about how to proceed here. So I played the logical conclusion. I traded, go queen h5. Black's king is in the center of the board. Try to put pressure on b5. Potentially, I've got a lot of firepower aiming there. The queen, the knight, the rook, and the bishop. So he goes g6 here. And now I go queen h4, f6. And now I play a4 like a genius. This is actually correct. And I had a feeling when I played a4 that this was actually winning for me. And so he takes, and where did I miss the win? Now it's the moment of truth. Rook a1. After the game, I wanted to play rook a1, but why is knight a3 and queen to e4? What? And a b4? Oh, I have bishop. Oh, I have bishop b5. Oh, wow. I have bishop b. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And so then after takes, I take the pawn. He goes king d8, and this is just winning, right? I take, and then I go rook c1. Oh, there's some very long line that apparently is winning, but very, very tricky to find. And now if rook c4, I just take, and I collect the rook in the corner pocket. And if he trades, it's the same problem where he can't stop this checkmate, so he's gonna have to go like queen b7. I take, actually probably king d7, and I can actually check this way and collect the queen because the rook cuts off the c file, so it's completely winning. So this would have been an amazing way to win. It's funny because in the game after I played queen h6, I was like, I thought that I should have thrown in rook a1, because what I realized during the game is that here I wanted to go rook a1, but I forgot that he has knight a3. So I was really mad at myself because if I had realized this was going to happen, I would have gone rook a1, knight a3, and then I think I would have gone queen h6 here, because now if king f7, I saw some. Wait, no, I go queen e4 here. I just had a feeling I should force this because in the game, when I play here and rook d1, like I just had a feeling that also after rook a3, rook a1, there might be a queen b4 that was very, very complicated. So I play here with the idea of trying to go knight f5, create a fossil, and also a checkmate. Goes rook c7. No, rook a1 is not hard to see. Seeing queen e4 is very tough, though. Rook a1 is not a tough move to spot, but queen e4 is very hard. Yeah, rook a1 before knight c4. No, I think you guys are confused. So okay, so rook c7, I go bishop d3. Idea to take the pawn on g6. He can't recapture because then you lose the rook in the corner. Knight e5, and now I take. Wesley goes here, and at this point I was very unhappy with myself. I played bishop e2. I almost blundered here. I was very close to playing bishop f1. If I gone bishop f1, knight g4 is winning, but even queen takes f2, and knight g4 is also very, very good for black. I came very, very close. I was already down to maybe like 30 seconds here, but fortunately I saw bishop e2, which cuts off knight g4, and the knight supports the bishop, and now I can also play for f4. Now he goes queen a3. I played rook a1, queen f8, queen f4. Amazingly, I'm still better here. During the game, I wasn't sure what was going on. Now here Wesley went g5, and this kind of struck me as a little bit of an odd move, because after I go queen e4, queen a8, queen b1, black's king is a little bit open here. There always is bishop h5, e6 is loose, a7 is loose. I might be able to even go f4 at some point. So I was a little bit surprised that Wesley went g5. I didn't think it was the right choice. Then after queen e4, queen a8, I go queen b1. He plays h5, of course, because now Wesley wants me to move the rook. Maybe even just play h4. And now I play f4 correctly. Takes, knight g4. I go bishop f3, queen b8. And now I play not the best move. Apparently, computer says after queen a2, white is still significantly better. Again, I was playing on increment at this point. I was very low on time, maybe 15-20 seconds. So I played the safe move. I traded the queens, go h3. Now I have to move the knight, and I can always take the pawn with check. And worst case, I should be able to draw this, even though I had very limited time at this point. So I take king e7, go bishop g4. Wesley plays rook b6. I go rook e1. Try to put pressure on the e-file with this pin potentially. Wesley goes a5. I play rook c3. Another very good move by me. I actually played this pretty well. I mean, I missed some chances, but my surprising computer likes most of my moves. He goes a4. Big mistake, by the way. I thought big mistake. Apparently not a big mistake. Wow. I thought this was a big mistake. So we actually both played pretty well, surprisingly. We both played pretty well here. So I go bishop e2, trying to take advantage of the pin. Wesley plays rook b4, missing rook d6, which I assumed was completely fine for him. Sure enough, computer says I have to go here, and now we just have a repetition, and the game should end in a draw. So Wesley goes rook b4. Now I go rook c1, taking advantage of the pin. He goes a3. I go here. I thought I probably had some way to win in this position, but apparently computer says I should just take, and after a2 I should just play this endgame with the rook bishop in 3 versus the rook in 2. A very tough endgame. I suspect with correct play this should be a draw, so I do feel like my decision objectively was correct. I play knight c2, rook b2, I take a2, and I go knight a3. Important, by the way, to stop rook b1, because if he gets rook b1 I lose. All my pieces are a little bit clumsy. They're all on the same file, so like the bishop is pinned by the rook on c7. This rook can pin the other rook. There's this a pawn going down. The knight is clumsy, so everything's like kind of clumsy here, being stacked on the same file. So I go knight a3, guard the bishop, also guard the square, also potentially take the pawn on a2. Goes to e5. I trade. I play g4. Wow. So I actually played this pretty well. Bishop e6 takes. And at this point, this still should be a draw, by the way, after knight c2. But the one thing that's important here to note is that I do have two outside pawns. So for example, after king f6, king f2, if black goes bishop b3, takes king g3, this is not a draw because I have two connected outside pawns that are going up the board. So it's very important that in this endgame, black cannot trade the bishop for the knight because of the pawn structure here where I have two connected pawns going up the board. So he goes bishop f7, king g3, knight e3, h4, all very good. And now I go rook c4, which I think is okay. This is still good. And now I play rook b6, which is a huge mind slip here. What I should have played, I think, was g5. So I go check here. And now I play h5, which is a terrible move. I should have played knight c4. This was actually my initial intention, too. And then for some reason, I rejected it. After check king f2, black cannot capture because I take with the fork. And if rook g2, I can just go king f1, capture the pawn next move. Knight's going to guard the pawn, and this is completely winning for white. Now, I saw this during the game. For some reason, I didn't play it. I don't remember why I didn't play it. I think it's because I just forgot that after h5, he had rook a3. I only saw rook g1. And after rook g1, I go king h4, king g5, knight f5, and this should technically be winning. And I just forgot that he could play rook a3. So now I have to go here, and now the game goes on. He checks me a bunch of times. And now he plays bishop f3, which is apparently the losing move. Yeah, right around here, I felt like if Wesley went bishop e4, creating the wooden shield in the middle of the board, there probably was some way to draw, because there's also a rook e2 idea. Now computer, I guess, says g5, rook a1 here, check, and king c3. I mean, maybe this is winning. Rook a3. I can't block because I think this is a draw. So I can't block. So how do I win? Here, check. King e1, check. And computer says I can play knight to d1, bishop c2, and rook f6. No, wait, there's king e7 here. Oh, and I have king d2 takes, rook d1, and I mean, computer is giving this some very weird. It's a very, very weird line, but very, very complicated endgame. At any rate, it's not easy to win. Fortunately for me, Wesley instead goes bishop f3, and now after h6 is losing, because he goes rook e2, tries to remove the knight from the guard from where it guards the pawn on g4. But now I go g5, and now if Wesley, it's too late here, because if Wesley eats the knight, my two pawns are just too fast. I go g6. He can't go king g8 because rook b8 would be checkmate. If he goes king f8, I can just check. King e7, h7. The pawn is free. It's going to become a queen, and that's game over. Actually, to show one more line, though, it's not so simple. So I go here, rook h1, and I do not make a queen here. I go pawn to g7, and I get two pawns to the 7th rank, make a queen, and that's the end of the game. So after g5, it's already too late. Wesley goes bishop e4, trying to prevent the pawn push, but now the pawns are too far up the board. I go knight to g4, goes rook g2. Again, he can't go bishop f5 because I have check collecting the bishop. Can't go bishop g6, guarding the pawn, because then I have check and I collect the bishop again. So it's already basically over. So Wesley goes rook g2, I take king e7, and now after g6, he resigns in light of the fact that there will be no way to stop the two pawns. The knight and the rook are perfectly coordinated here. I can push h7 and g7, and one of these pawns will get to the end of the board and become a queen. So Wesley resigns his first blitz game. This was a huge victory for me. It gave me the 1-0 lead, and we move on to the second game of the blitz tiebreaker, where I had the black pieces. So let's flip the board. So Wesley plays e4. Play e5, knight f3, knight c6. Wesley chooses to mix it up. Normally he plays either the Italian with the Scotch gambit or the Spanish itself. Here he chooses to play d4. I take, and play knight f6. Now normally I've always played bishop c5. However, I have been looking at knight f6 before, so I played knight f6 in this position, going into the Miessis variation of the Scotch. I knew that Wesley would not be super comfortable here. He does not normally play the Scotch opening. So I go queen e7, queen e2, knight d5, h4. Some of you guys might remember there's a very famous game played in London in the Grand Chess Tour, I believe in 2017 or 2018. A certain grandmaster by the name of Hikaru Nakamura played this h4 move against Magnus Carlsen, and got a winning position in that game, but ended up making a mistake deep in the end game, and it ended in a draw. But some of you guys will remember that Hikaru played this h4 move. So Wesley trying to play similar lines and be one of the cool kids, plays this move h4 here. So now I play a5, he goes c4. I play knight to b6 here. Wesley plays knight d2. Now I go g6 here. Again, the idea is to put the bishop on g7, try to put pressure on the center. Basically, I want to either go bishop g7 and line up the diagonal attacks. I can also line up the other diagonal with bishop a6. And the third idea is to play either d6 or d5 to chop at the center. So h5 is played. Yes, I also had this against Ray Robson as well in a game. I also played this in the first round of the US Championship in one of those same years. In one of those same years, I had it with White against him as well. But the initial game was against Magnus that I played. So h5, I go bishop g7. He plays knight f3. Logical move. Guard the pawn. Open up the diagonal as well. f4 is also a move, but again, you'll notice this bishop now will have to be developed via b3 and bishop b2. So Wesley goes here, very logical, open up this diagonal for the bishop. So now I go queen b4 check. He goes king d1. Now here, I think bishop d2 is a move, a very tough move to play because I can take the pawn. And if White blocks with the queen here as well, you don't really want to trade the queens because now I can just castle, go rook e8. Rook e8, target the center of the board. I'm going to have d6, bishop a6. Very, very pleasant position for black here, and black should be completely fine. So here, Wesley does not go knight d2 either, by the way, because for basically I could play queen e7, for example, offering a repetition, amongst other things as well. So he goes king d1. Now I play bishop a6 to attack the pawn on c4 here with the knight and the bishop. Wesley plays b3, connects the chain. Additionally, now he opens up scope. This bishop on c1 can go to b2 or g5 or d2, but both diagonals remain open. So now I castle. Wesley plays pawn to h6. Very logical move again. I'd love to bring my rooks to center. Let's just say I play a random move like g3, rook e8 here. Say white goes bishop d2 and I get d6. This is the dream. The rooks are in the center, my king is out of the center, the diagonal is open. This white king on d1 is super weak here, and it's completely winning. Fun fact, you guys, I will say, I will also add, way back in 1997, I played in this tournament. I believe it's an invitational tournament in Hawaii. It was right before, I believe, the US Open. Maybe I have the wrong year. Let me see if I can find the game specifically so that I have the exact year right. But I actually chose to play let me see if I can find the game. So let's see. Does the game exist? Yeah, I think you guys can probably find it easier than me. But I think it was either 97 or 98. I'm not sure which year it was. I think it was 97. Do Control F, see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the game. Yes, I found the game. It was 1997, you guys. It was a game that I played against this, I think she was German women grandmaster, I think was her name. Her name was Bettina Trebert. And in that game, I played this Miesis with the white pieces against her, and I lost in like 20 moves. I think it was a very, very bad game. I'll show you guys just so we can take the quick trip down memory lane. Let's pull this game up very quickly so you guys see it. So here's the game. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight 6, d4, takes, knight f6, trade, e5. You'll see the exact same opening. Now this was different because h4 wasn't played, nor was knight b6. But anyway, bishop a6, knight d2, castles. So now b3, f6, takes, rook b1, bishop b4, queen d1, rook e8, bishop e2, knight c3, bishop b2, knight e2 takes, knight g3. Very, actually, almost a miniature. This is actually just a miniature game that I lost here. And you'll see it's really, really, really bad. I didn't even realize it was this pretty of a game. But I lost this terrible game. This was a 16-move game in 1997. And this was the first time I ever played the Scotch Miesis with the white pieces. It was the Hawaii Open in 1997. And man, was it a bad game. So I thought I would just point that out, you guys, because there are a lot of dangers where if you play this opening, the Miesis, and your king gets stuck in the center, you just get massacred. So you do have to be very, very careful in terms of how you play it. So, all right. So here Wesley plays the h6. Logical move. I remember this game, Hawaii, was a blast. I'm pretty sure you were not playing chess, Benjamin. I think you were alive, but you weren't playing chess. Very funny, dude. Anyway, okay, so h6 is played to take the bishop off the diagonal. Now there are no threats. I can't really reactivate it. Additionally, my rook can't get into the game, so it's very logical because I'd love to get this rook in. So h6 is dual function. The bishop is off this diagonal, but additionally now my rook can't get into the game easily either. So Wesley plays knight g5, and now here I went into a long think, and I played queen to e7. Very long think here. I wasn't sure what the right move was. I know people in chat were saying d5, knight takes f7, bishop e7 is playable. Now, I saw this during the game, and I was thinking for quite a while, but I really wasn't sure what was going on. I thought after like knight takes d8, rook takes d8, white could go king c2, and after pawn takes pawn, he could go queen f3. This is where my calculation stopped. And apparently I should not have stopped my calculation because the computer says that after the brilliant move rook to d3, wow, that this is just winning. So if takes, you take. If king b1, I think you just go queen c3, and there's just, you're threatening mate in one. The pawn just guards the square, so white has to go here, but then you push. Takes, now you have bishop d3, and you just end the game. White takes, and now you have knight a4 takes, bishop a3. What a beautiful checkmate. So I saw my calculation right around here. I thought after queen f3 that white was fine. Now in a slow game, I would have had time to calculate this, and probably I played d5. But in blitz game, I really wasn't sure. And I thought that if I'm wrong with d5, like if I'm wrong here, and he somehow is able to just survive, I'm going to be down on the clock, I'm going to be down in exchange, and I'm probably just going to lose the game. So it's better to keep the position alive. So that's why I didn't do that. I think I spent like a minute here debating whether to play it. In the end, I went queen e7 because I figured, okay, maybe it's worse, but the time situation is complicated. Its time situation is balanced. Position is complicated. Anything can happen. Now, of course, this is a bad move. And Wesley plays rook h3, which is sort of, I think, the start of going wrong. Probably, I thought he should have gone king c2 here with the idea of just playing f4 and bishop b2. And the computer actually really likes this for white. So I was kind of surprised he didn't do that. Instead, he goes rook h3. Played d5, again, very logical move, trying to open up. Wesley plays n peasant. He takes the pawn. Of course, white can't take this one because then you lose the queen. And if white moves the king, now I just take the pawn. And the center of the board is open. The king is on the loose. And it should be very easy for black to play. So, of course, he takes on d6. So now I go queen d7. Not queen takes, by the way, because after rook d3, white is I thought white was winning, but maybe not. I guess white should just go king c2 here. And he's got rook f3, bishop b2, rook d1. And my rook on h8 and this bishop on f8 are very sag. so this probably is winning for white. So instead I go queen d7, trying to activate the bishop and bring my rook to the center of the board. If I can get bishop d6 and rook e8, I should be fine. So he goes king c2, logical move. I take with the bishop. Wesley goes rook d3. I play rook e8, goes queen f3, and now I play f5. And this is probably the last moment where Wesley had a chance. In this position, he made a big mistake. He played this move bishop to e3, probably after bishop f4, c5. Very similar to the game. White's probably a little bit better, because even though we're going to end up in a similar situation, the knight on g5 is great. It's always attacking the pawn, but I'm not really getting the same play in the center that I would be in the other lines. Like even after rook e3 and f4, white is much better here, specifically because the knight on g5 is always attacking the pawn on h7. So Wesley's last chance here was to go bishop f4. Instead, Wesley plays bishop to e3. And after this move, it's really, really difficult. So now I go pawn to c5. And Wesley plays bishop e2. Wesley does not have queen e8 checkmate because I can capture the queen. So there's no classic queen to the end corner like in the game between Ludwig and Logic from PogChamps 3. You have to be very careful of that. However, in this position, Wesley plays bishop e2, which is kind of the final losing move. In this position for Wesley, probably it's already very hard to play. Computer says g3, but after bishop b7, queen e2, even queen e7, it's hard to believe that white can be better here. So I have f4 and bishop e4. Both moves are very playable at this point. So it's really, really difficult to play here for white. White, and already the threat is kind of gone at this point. So I mean, it's just very, very difficult to play. So Wesley plays bishop to e2. I go queen to e7. Apparently this is a mistake. I should have gone bishop b7, queen h3, and now I have knight takes c4 because takes. I have queen a4, rook b3. And computer has some weird bishop f4 line that's winning. So I mean, there's bishop e4, king is too open, everything is under attack, and I mean, this is just, I mean, this is simply too much, just way too much here. I don't really understand. I don't understand this at all. So queen e7 is what I play. The idea is very simple here. I want to go f4 basically I want to put pressure on the knight on g5. I have f4 to undermine the bishops. This bishop also guards the knight, so if I get f4, he's going to lose either the bishop or the knight. And so in this position, he goes queen h3. Now this kind of loses as well, but at this point there isn't really much that white can do. Maybe he can go rook e1, because now if f4 takes, the bishop is guarded by the rook on e1. So after rook e1, bishop b7, queen h3, king b8. Maybe white is still in the game with a move like pawn to f4 here, but very, very tough position for white at any rate, and very hard to play at this point when it's already really, really, the threat is slipping away. You're in a must-win game, but not only is the position slipping away, Wesley was also getting low on time, and you feel like black's moves are too easy. Like I have two moves, f4, bishop b7. That's it. White has to come up with a plan to not lose the game here. So here, Wesley plays queen to h3. So now I play the move king to b8. Again, stepping out of the pin. The king is now safe here, and I'm going to play pawn to f4 next move. Of course, I can't do it right away because, of course, he would capture my king. So I have to go king b8, and now it's, I think, pretty much just lost here. Wesley plays g3. The only try to stay in the game is f4 here, but again, after bishop takes f4, apparently can take, play rook d2. I mean, I have knight takes c4 and queen c4, and this actually should just be winning on the spot here. So it's already really, really gone at this point in time. There isn't much that white can do. Wesley instead chooses to play g3. So if I go f4, he can just take. Bishop supports the pawn supports the knight. So after g3, I play bishop to c8. And I was very proud of this move, but apparently it's a bad move. I should have just, it's a terrible move. He can go f4. Wow, we're both so bad at chess. I thought in f4, I could take the pawn, and after takes, I just take and take. I forgot his queen takes queen here. Oh, we're very bad chess players. Oh, f4 is such an obvious move, too. That's terrible. That is absolutely horrific by me to allow that. That is very, very bad. Oh, that's very, very bad. How did I miss that? But also, how did Wesley not play? I mean, I think Wesley saw the same thing. He thought takes queen e2, and he resigns the game. I think he literally forgot the queen guards when you capture. We both forgot it. So here, Wesley, after bishop c8, he goes queen to h1, and this is the final mistake, because now I go f4, and after pawn takes, I go bishop takes f4. I could have played bishop f5 too, to win the rook, but I did feel after bishop f5, you could play like queen f3, takes, and while I thought black was better, apparently it was very smart of me not to do this, because computer thinks white is in fact better here. Even though white is down a rook for a knight and a pawn, my king is a little bit open, and also this knight is so well placed. It hits towards all these squares in the center and the pawn on h7. So here I play bishop takes f4, and after bishop takes f4, Wesley resigns in view of the fact that he's basically losing material. The knight is weak. If he takes here on f4, I just take. Rook d2, I can just go check. King to c1, and now I can go rook takes d2, bishop takes d2, and I think knight takes c4 is the cleanest way of takes. I take king d1, queen c2 is checkmate. Bishop guards the queen and recovers the escape scores on the e file. And I mean, if he doesn't take, if he moves the knight to like f3, I just go bishop f5, and I mean, everything is collapsing here in the center of the board. All my pieces are perfectly placed, and it's just game over. So it's completely lost for white at this point. So that's why here, after bishop takes f4, Wesley resigned the game here. And with that, I won the match. I won both of the tiebreaker games. And I get 2 very hard-earned points as we move forward into the next part of the event. Tomorrow, of course, I'm going to be playing against Magnus Carlsen. There will be coverage on our channel once again, you guys.